this is my 2 cents. I think that, honestly, what's happening right now is that all the Star Wars fans see Lucasfilm as this corporate entity. Good morning, good evening, and welcome. You've reached the Fanaddicts of Film, and my name is Ben, and this is our soon-to-be awesome show called BLASTERPIECE Theater, and we love talking about Star Wars almost as much as we love watching the films. Hopefully you do too, and I've got some great cohorts with me.
Hey, I'm Neil. Welcome back, everyone. Great to be back at the table. And to my left, we've got...
Alex, the savior of droids. Quiet, awful.
Thomas.
He's actually son of Thomas. We killed Thomas earlier, and this is his son. So, just to let you know,
Son of Thomas.
yes, son of Thomas, son of a Thomas. So anyway, we're just kind of wanted to reach out to the Star Wars community and want to talk more about kind of what's happening here, especially with this is my 2 cents. I think that, honestly, what's happening right now is that all the Star Wars fans see Lucasfilm as this corporate entity, right? And that's how a consumer, a customer, a fan, someone who is loves Star Wars their whole lives, or they communicate with any of the actors or any of the people online about this. You're communicating with the company, and that's what it is. That's the problem, is that and I think a lot of them aren't recognizing the fact that they are a representative of that company. All of us have worked for a large corporation. We've all had this experience dealing with customers, dealing with that type of thing, and I think in general that's the way a customer views you. When you are the representative of that company, that's what you are. You are the company to them, and that's, I think, the problem is that a lot of these actors and people who are communicating with people online are just not. They don't see that. So, my 2 cents. I think that in general, like, the actors are viewing as the fan base as a corporate entity. And so we're all racist white dudes, and that's essentially that's what Stephen Colbert is saying. With that joke, that whole thing, that Stephen Colbert thing, and everything. So, and that's the problem, is that it's the paintbrush mentality. It's painting all of us the same, and I think that's the biggest problem, is that they view us all the same when we're not.
Well, the thing that blows my mind is just the fact of, you get to that particular point when you're so gung-ho on your particular perspective of things that you're alienating yourself, and you're becoming that elitist that you pretty much despise or hate. And that's kind of funny to me, because just to back it up a notch, when Lucas still had his hands in Lucasfilm and he was making this toy empire over the top of Star Wars, I looked at him as like the evil empire. I was like, holy crap, George. He's just all about the money. He's just going off the kilt. And when the prequels came out, I was like, man, you're spending a whole lot more time just raking in the dough and making toys, or making characters to make toys out of, than actually writing like good stories, good scripts, or like, and now that we're in this particular state of Star Wars, I'm like, George is looking pretty good. George is looking like less and less like the evil empire that I thought he was.
Please come back, George. We miss you. We all want it. Like, Thomas called me a purist the other night, because we were talking about like our differences and how we like Star Wars, and yeah, I think he's right. And to me, a purist has always been like someone who only likes certain kinds of jazz and certain kinds of music this way or that way, and only specific types of art. You're a purist because you only like this type, and I guess that's what it is. If George Lucas is not involved, I guess it is unfortunate, but I'm biased.
Well, and I would be okay. Lucas was out. In fact, I was really excited that he sold this off, because I felt like he'd kind of been he'd sitting in his little cozy chair for a little while, and when he came back out to do his stuff, the excitement wasn't there. It wasn't as palpable as far as like the creation of the movies. So I was excited for the new blood and people who were coming out who like actually had passion and excitement for what is Star Wars, and be able to create these new stories. And I think there was that initially, but I mean, you can tell just by the divisiveness of what's going on. And like your original point, if I think Kathleen Kennedy, if Rian Johnson, if JJ were in a professional position where they could basically just weather those complaints or that storm that people were coming at them with, as professionals and as business people, that it wouldn't be in the situation it's in right now.
Yeah.
Because instead, what do? They actually start pointing fingers. They start like trying to separate the fan base by calling names. I mean, what business does that? And especially it's one of those things where it's like, okay, you want to do that, but really, where's your revenue base coming after that? I mean, do you really think there is this whole other section of Star Wars fandom that's going to basically rise up and take over for the revenue base that has been everyone who's already been involved?
Well,
you're basically just shooting yourself in the foot, then the chest, then the face.
Well, I think the biggest thing in relationship to what you're saying specifically about Kathleen, and that's the point, is that from the get-go, Kathleen Kennedy's primary objective was to her whole thing was, I'm going to take Star Wars to the world. I want to take it to the rest of the world. I want to make people who have never seen Star Wars before love it. That's fine. That's awesome. But in the process of doing so, you've alienated everybody that already loves Luke Skywalker. It's like all the people that love Star Wars from the very get. She's, you know.
Well, and taking it back even further than Luke, or just more to a simplistic level, what she's taking out is the fun of Star Wars. Mm-hmm. Because Star Wars is all about just the excitement, the adventure, regardless of people. Okay, I was a young white boy watching this show, but I didn't see a lack of diversity. I'm looking at aliens. I'm looking at, different creatures from different planets. And I grew up on Star Trek too, where, there were beautiful, women of power and position. I mean, like Uhura. I mean, we're talking decades ago, and she's not like the best example of like someone who's in a commanding role. But what I'm saying is there's been females in like front positions for decades.
That's the biggest misconception of this whole thing, is that all these brand new people who are on Star Wars are literally patting themselves on the back a million times saying, look, there's actually diversity in Star Wars, when there was diversity from the get-go. There has been diversity the entire time. So, anyway.
Yeah, so taking out the fun. Taking out all the fun.
Well, to me, it's really interesting that Disney in particular is kind of the catalyst for the politicalization of Star Wars these days. You see, not only that, but the sexual innuendos. That's actually a thing as well, and that's been an issue with Disney for a long time. It's been unchecked. I mean, if you recall, a lot of the hidden sexual messages in Aladdin or in Lion King,
Little Mermaid.
It's kind of Little Mermaid, on the cover, right? Interesting. That's something that you see now in Star Wars, and it's that didn't really become a thing until it was owned by Disney.
Yeah.
Well,
the moment they bring sex into Star Wars, I'm done. God damn.
Well, no, like a love story. Love stories are great.
No. That's fine. I'm talking about Game of Thrones type, no. Unless it's a Rancor and a Tauntaun.
only if it's a Rancor and a
That's
Tauntaun.
unnatural. Something just completely ridiculous. Or if it's like Luke Skywalker and a sea cow, then it's
Space titty milk.
Sorry, man.
I'm just going to go on record really quick and say that if that moment in Star Wars could ever be erased out of my brain...
What?
Oh my gosh, I know that Alex likes it. Alex likes it, but
it's so Star Wars.
It's not Star Wars at all.
Yes, it is.
Dude, I can't believe you. I think it was literally $1 billion. No, not $1 billion, but I think it was $1 million that they spent on that stupid thing just to film that. I think it's literally about a 15-second scene. There was $1 million spent on that stupid thing, on that giant sea cow thing that they built. So anyway.
Maybe if Luke was badass Luke, and he had to weather the storm, he caught the sea cow, and maybe you saw a bull sea cow that was really mean, and then you're like, dang, how'd you get that?
But I think that's a point to consider. The politicalization of Star Wars did not really occur until Disney owned it, and the network that they've got in there, the people that they've got working for them, they have an agenda of their own, and they've definitely used Star Wars as the vessel to be able to express those things. And I think a lot of the issues that we see right now going on are because of that, because of the politicalization.
Absolutely. But that's my point of I don't see how that is going to further, the brand that is Star Wars with a more diverse crowd that I think they're looking at, when they're at the same time basically removing the enjoyment and the fun and just the escapism that is Star Wars.
Escapism, exactly.
You know, bringing something like that so currently politicized into Star Wars just actually,
ruins it.
yeah, well, it makes it less potent, I think.
And not just the escapism, but also like the quality that was in Star Wars. I feel like there's a richness in Star Wars that's kind of been lost over time, and you can watch the original films and you can see that there's something inherent there that like keeps you coming back. Like I much more enjoy going back to the original trilogy than I do any other Star Wars film. And I just think that that's been watered down over time.
Well, and one of the big, and that that's a point that's highly missed as far as like the global market is because that was what made it a phenomenon, because it wasn't just popular here in the United States when it originally was released. It blew up around the world.
Yeah.
You know, people who didn't even really understand the dialogue or what was even happening. It was the visuals, it was the excitement, it was what was going on the screen that really opened up the imaginations and that of the world. And bringing in, you know, Disney politics in the thing is not going to make things any better or more magical.
Certainly not more universal for everybody. Like
Right.
it's going to marginalize people that don't agree with the political opinions of Disney.
Yes, exactly. I think one of the biggest issues is that they're trying to spread it out into corners of the world that don't really care, or you know, maybe they might care. They might care. That's the problem. Is that we might be able to? It's like this. We're throwing this net out. It's like going fishing in the middle of the ocean. You know, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to capture. They're trying to win over new fans.
They're letting go of the fish they already have.
Exactly, exactly, and I think that's the biggest.
They're whales.
Whales that they already have, and I think the backlash just kind of proves how good the whole Solo boycott did, because we don't really see a lot of numbers, and we don't see Disney saying like, "Hey, we heard you guys. You didn't go to the theaters. We'll listen." No, it's the complete opposite. It's almost like when you call a liar out on lying, and then they call you a liar. It's like the cycle. It's almost like that's how I see them acting. It's like,
I still haven't seen it, by the way.
nice.
But you know what's funny is like I wasn't even really paying attention to this stuff until we actually did the Solo review, and I'd kind of seen glimpses of it, but I didn't want to pay attention because
You want to
I go
enjoy
to
it.
Star
You want to
Wars
enjoy it.
because I want to enjoy a movie in that particular place, far, far away, you know. And then as soon as I got on board and started watching the videos and stuff like that, it's obnoxious how you know, huge the boycott and people are just raging about this.
That's so interesting to me that you use that phrase, though, because it is the escapism is an element, and like the fact that this is taking place in a galaxy far away, it's like you're bringing the political debate that's current in our world into that place that's far away. You are ruining Star Wars.
I see that on the news. I don't need to see it
By putting
like
Earth.
on the
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That is a good point.
So soon we'll see it'll say long ago on Earth, or not so far away in your backyard, and it's all blue. Yeah.
In the Senate. We go through the asteroid field. Okay, good.
Okay, we've got 2
You dodged.
grenades, only 1 hit, so Luke's shots
Misfire.
misfire.
Oh yeah, and I have a. What do you
Okay.
call?
I
Right,
have no
TIE
shot. Wait,
Don't.
my back dropped.
Looks like Luke is still out of your sights. I know you'd like it to be there.